So recently I asked myself this question: if I had to start with just $0 and $0 external financial assistance, how would I work myself towards a property, and not just any property, a family home that my kids and my wife would be happy with in the $1 million plus range without a massive mortgage? What's going on, everyone? It's Brandon here from Mortgage HQ. And so in the last 7 years, I've actually settled more than $500 million worth of mortgages for investors and property owners. I've also personally bought more than $7 million worth of properties. So there's quite a bit that I've learned. And with that knowledge, I've constructed this 4-stage plan to give myself 10 years ago if I was to start again. And maybe you could get something out of it. So I'm going to show you step by step and explain to you the why, the what, and the how. Now, it's also important to note that this plan would only work if it was 2 people. So it doesn't have to be husband and wife or boyfriend, girlfriend. It could be just brothers or a ambitious colleague of yours that will work with you together on this plan. So first of all, why $500,000 of equity? Now, when I was 20, I played just a little bit too much computer games because I didn't actually finish high school. I was already working a full-time job at Foot Locker, and there was just one random day at the shop. There wasn't much people, much traffic. I was just standing there looking out the door, and I remember vividly, for some reason, I could see the future self of me 10 years later. And I was actually horrified because I didn't do anything with my life. That's when I decided to quit my job, went back to uni, studied hard, and worked towards the future that I want. So since that time, I tried to use this method of flash forward to make better life decisions. Because you can kind of play out, if you just carry on and do nothing, you'll be able to see what happens in the future. So I just imagined myself in my 20s again. Maybe I just graduated, and now I got this salary job, the dream job. If I don't try to get ahead financially, this is probably what's going to happen. In my 30s, I'm going to have 2 kids, and because of the space in the school zones, I'll probably need to upgrade my home. This is to keep my wife happy and just put more room for the kids to run around. But the trade-off is I'll have to have a massive ass mortgage. Now, because my wife would likely be working part-time because she wants to look after the kids, I'll be slaving away at my 9 to 5, and it'll be a long time before I can consider investing. Well, that's one scenario. But the other scenario is that, okay, I don't upgrade. I stay in the small house that we're in. Now, because there's not much space for the kids, they'll throw tantrums more often. My wife would be miserable, and I would have a very sad life. So it'll be important to get my partner to see the bigger picture and what we're working towards to, so that we can stay focused for this plan. There are definitely going to be some sacrifices, and we're assuming that we don't have kids because we're going to be doing renovations and moving houses, but it's going to set up the right financial foundation. So what does that plan look like? Let's jump into it. So in the very beginning, we are just going to be focusing on working towards a higher income. Now, depending on what degree you end up getting, some jobs will start at around that 65, 70K. Some you might just need to work a little bit harder to earn that 70,000, because normally most jobs, there will be a criteria you have to meet for your managers to pay you that kind of salary. Now, a very important knowledge that we have to gain is CMA, and that stands for Comparable Market Analysis. What this is just understanding what makes property prices go up, and certain areas, what prices they're selling for, and understanding when a deal is going to be at a very good price, so that you're spending that whole year to understand if a property is listed for a very low price or the reserve is very low, you know straight away because you understand that market. So we don't have any savings yet, but what we're going to do is we're going to focus on savings $15,000 each. I think this is very achievable if you just sort of hold back your spending and just rent a small room that potentially you and your friend can live in together, or your partner. Maybe you go bunk beds just to go make this property dream come true. But this is what we're going to do in this first year after we have saved up for the 30,000. Hopefully we have increased our income to around 70,000 to 80,000. And the knowledge that we need to gain in this year is renovations. This is really important because we are going to do a do-up. So now that we've got 30,000, we are going to put down 5% deposit, and we're going to go to Kaya Ora and get the first home loan. This allows us to buy our first property property with just 5% down, and as long as our total income or household income is below $150,000. So what we're going to buy here is probably likely a $600,000 unit. Now, what matters the most is that it's well undervalued and has got renovations improvement value. So we can spend $35,000 to do the renovations. Now you might be asking, okay, where are we going to get this $35,000? We already put it down for 5%. We can actually get a personal loan. So something like Harmony loan, that's a good one. Or if you have a car, you can get a car loan. That's going to be a lower financing interest rate, but this is going to allow you to increase the value of the property. And so you live in it for a year, and then now you're going to be ready to upgrade. So if you sell it for $700,000, you'll be able to get around $80,000 back, and hopefully you're still saving around $30,000 a year. So this gives us $110,000 to work with in the second year. Now, hopefully we have increased our income to around $80,000 or more, and the knowledge that we need to gain is unitary plan. So this again is looking at the different council rules that there are for development on land, because some land is going to be worth a lot more than other land. But with the MDRS, majority of them are going to be very similar in terms of planning rules. But what you could learn about is the services and slope and how that affects your future gains. As a rule of thumb, flat land is going to be worth more long term. So what we're going to do is use a 10% deposit and get a 90% loan. This is usually done with a main bank of yours. So it's important to try and get accounts with several banks, and better yet, you can split your salary into different accounts. You and your wife should have different banking, so you're more likely or easier to get a 90% loan. The reason for this is because 90% loan is not always available all the time. So if you plan ahead, it's a lot easier to get a loan at 90%. What we're going to buy is a $1 million freehold property, something that has long-term value, but also because we learned in our first year when we're saving up for the money, we learn about CMA or comparable market analysis. We're able to buy a property well undervalued. Second year, we learned about renovations. So we're going to do a do-up, and now we're going to live in it for a year, and we're going to sell it to upgrade to a new home. So we're going to sell it for 1.2 million. That gives us around 230K to spend on the next property after our agent's fee. And again, hopefully we've saved another $30,000, and we've pushed our income towards 100K plus. Now, the knowledge that we need to gain is subdivision and development. We learned about the unitary plan last year. Now this year, we're going to learn about the details of construction. So that might be enlisting an architect, engineers, planners to be on your team so that they can help you purchase this property that have subdivision potential. Now with this deposit, we're going to put down a 15% at the bank so we can get an 85% loan. With that said, we'll be able to buy a 1.5 mil land bank. This is based on a young couple with $100,000 salary each, still have a student loan, but no kids. Now we're going to spend a year to do all the design for a new property at the backyard, and we'll get a resource consent, building consent. We can either fund this with our savings or cash flow, or if we don't have enough money at the time, we can get a personal loan again. And once we have the consent, we're going to get a $500,000 build loan from the bank. Now this is relatively easy to get because it's a small construction loan, and you can use as if complete valuation. So if you did your maths right from the beginning when you bought the property, you should have an in value of 2.3 mil plus. This will allow the bank to give you the money to get you to build. Now, if you don't have enough borrowing capacity at the time, you could actually subdivide the land off first and then sell the front house, pay off the mortgage, then do the build. Yes, it's a bit of hard work because you have to move around a lot, but at the end of it, you're going to have a brand new house with at least $500,000 equity in it. Now, to illustrate what type of properties these look like, they basically look like they've got a piece of land like this, and they might have a house, and they have a long driveway and a big backyard, so that you can plant another house at the back, and this is going to allow the buyer to build the maximum equity. Now, a couple of things to note, because if you were to learn about these things in your different years of property investing, I would say you would probably want to find a mentor. So CMA, doing research, we've got a course at MHQ that teaches how you can look at research. I personally have done Property Apprentice, and I think it's a worthwhile course to join as well, and it will give you very good understanding of property analysis. With renovations, I would definitely join a mentor like Asset Lab, who will take you onto the roadshow and give you the tradies that you need to do a good renovations. So definitely worth paying a mentor to teach you. you. Now, unitary plan, you would probably just pay consultants like planner architects to really teach you more about it. But a good course that I would recommend is definitely GRA, and that's something that I personally very much enjoyed, and there was so much learning from it. And then the third one, subdivision and development. There are a couple of aspects to it. Again, you can just talk to your consultants, but if you want to learn how to do the numbers, our property formula workshop on our website actually teaches you how to put together feasibility for a development. Now, you might be thinking, okay, I don't even know what properties you're talking about, Landon. Well, there are case studies on our masterclass. Just for $37, you'll be able to access all of the case studies with the properties that I have sort of talked about in this plan, and you'll be able to see it for yourself on what a unit and renovations look like, something that's undervalued, and even a development potential property. So what are your thoughts on this plan? Do you think it can work? I would love to hear from you in the comments below. And of course, if you found value in this video, smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. I'd love to see you guys in the next video.